Chardon, Ohio. Some mornings, Paul Davis has no trouble getting dressed. But then there are days when he can't get to his feet anywhere near his shoes. Davis is a 63-year-old Chardon man with multiple sclerosis. He may grunt and swear and struggle until he can make his toes cooperate, but he never asks his wife for help. When you start giving in, MS wins, Davis said. I am not going to let it win. Multiple sclerosis is an unpredictable, often disabling disease that affects the brain and central nervous system, disrupting the flow of information from the brain to the body and often limits mobility. Symptoms include tingling, numbness, blindness, and paralysis. As the search for a cure continues, the forefront of MS research is investigating if existing drugs could pull double duty and also be effective in fighting against MS. Recent studies, taking place at the Cleveland Clinic and other sites, asked if an over-the-counter allergy medicine and a Japanese asthma drug could reverse the effects of multiple sclerosis, bringing hope to the 2.3 million people worldwide with the disease. This approach speeds up drug testing and approval. Instead of needing 15 to 20 years to get a brand new MS drug to market, the process with an already approved drug would take a fraction of the time, said Dr. Jeffrey Cohen, professor of medicine, Cleveland Clinic, Lerner College of Medicine. Davis took part in an MS study that tested a Japanese-produced asthma drug to do his part to push MS research ahead. We're getting so much closer to a cure now with medicines, Davis said. There's such tremendous hope. Challenges in curing MS. There are two kinds of multiple sclerosis, relapsing and progressive. In relapsing MS, new symptoms of relapses develop over time, then improve partially or completely for months or even years, the Mayo Clinic explained. Patients with progressive MS experience worsening symptoms without any relapses. There are treatments to control relapsing MS, but very few for the progressive form. It's the story of the haves and have-nots, said Dr. Robert Fox, Vice Chairman for Research at the Neurological Institute and staff neurologist at the Mellon Center for MS at the Cleveland Clinic. There is a big need for therapies for progressive MS, Fox said. While relapsing MS attacks the immune system, doctors don't know the underlying cause of progressive MS, Fox said. Understanding the disease's cause would make it easier to identify possible therapies. Another impediment to finding a cure is the lack of clinical measurements to determine if, and how much, a patient improves when taking a certain drug. Better clinical measurements would speed up MS drug trials and make them less costly, Fox said. Fox led a phase 2 clinical trial of the Japanese asthma drug ibudilast that tackled two jobs, testing it as a new MS therapy and finding better measurements for the effects of MS. The trial, called Sprint MS, showed that ibudilast significantly slowed the rate of brain atrophy, which has been linked to cognitive and physical disability in MS, and that it had few side effects. The study measured patients' progress by calculating the amount of shrinkage in their cortex, looking at eye damage and using specialized MRI scans to reveal brain cells at a high resolution, Fox said. The randomized Sprint MS trial involved 255 people across the country, and was conducted at the Cleveland Clinic and 27 other sites. The National Institutes of Health provided $13 million for the Phase 2 testing. Medicine Over, the company that supplied ibudilast, and the National MS Society also provided funding support, according to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. The FDA has designated ibudilast as a fast-track product, which could speed its development as a potential treatment, the society said. If we can halt MS in its tracks, it will be a great benefit, Fox said. That's the hope of the future. A life irrevocably changed, but still hopeful. Davis was diagnosed with progressive multiple sclerosis in 2000. At first, he didn't tell anyone except for family about his illness. I knew I would live, but I didn't know how it would change my life, Davis said. As his disease worsened, he began using a motorized wheelchair to get around the home he shares with his wife, Sandra. He retired from his sales and marketing business, leaving the day-to-day running of it to family members. Needing a social outlet, Davis became a ham radio operator. Last winter, he charted with an English-speaking ham radio enthusiast in Moscow. I can wheel over there and flip the radio switch and find somebody to talk to, Davis said. During his drug trial, Davis noticed he had increased energy and mobility, and an improved memory. But he doesn't know if the changes were meaningful. Patients who volunteer to take part in drug trials are not told whether they are receiving a drug or a placebo. Symptoms like foggy thinking and trouble walking, which Davis experienced, happen because multiple sclerosis attacks the protective sheath myelin that covers nerve fibers. Eventually, the nerves themselves deteriorate or become permanently damaged. Researchers think that another drug already in use, the over-the-counter allergy drug clemastine fumarate, brand name Taeus, may be able to repair damaged myelin and help MS patients keep their mobility. Currently, there are no treatments that can do that, Cohen said. A recent randomized clinical trial of the allergy drug, conducted at the University of California, San Francisco, was optimistic about the drug's ability to repair myelin. The trial, called Rebuild, involved 50 patients with relapsing MS. Details were published online in The Lancet, a peer-reviewed medical journal, last fall. It's a landmark study, said the Cleveland Clinic's Cohen. The Lancet noted that the Rebuild trial used a higher dose of clemastine fumarate than is used to treat allergies. It might not be possible to use the drug for longer periods of time and at higher doses, due to side effects. Although clemastine fumarate probably is not the final answer to the search for repair-promoting drugs to treat multiple sclerosis, the Rebuild trial represents a watershed milestone in that quest, The Lancet said. Davis is optimistic that a cure for MS is coming in the next 3 to 5 years. In the meantime, he figures he can either crawl in a hole, or do as much as he can to beat MS. "I'm not going to let it get me down," Davis said.